My name is Clark Paul, Clark, Paul. Originally, I'm from Membertou, but my mother brought me here when I was 18 months old and been here. No, it's sharing the knowledge that I had gained throughout my lifetime, and teaching the youth about culture. I can't get it into their minds, that ours is unique. To them, it's new because for the longest time, our culture was outlawed, and our traditional way of life. So when I came home anyway. I built a sweat lodge up on Oslam Road at a friend's house, and this was in '87. We started doing sweats, but the people, I'd say, were sort of against it because they didn't know that the sweat lodge ceremonies started here in the East and sent the teachings out west. And not only that, but since the church was not involved, then to them it was wrong. Okay, to them the place to praise in church. But with me, it's like teaching the youth to know themselves, who they are. When I started on this road back in 1974, I had to find out who I was. And finding out who I was and why, I had to dig deep and look into all that garbage I carried around and let it out. It took me a long time to get this garbage out, especially after going into residential school and coming out. The hardest part, I guess, was learning how to love. Because when I came out, love was a foreign thing to me. It was nothing there, and all I knew coming out was anger and hate. I hated who I was, so all this garbage that I carried around had to come out. Get to know me. And I did this by going out to fast. As a matter of fact, I fasted up here back then, and 4 days, 4 nights, first week of May, no clothes, no fire to keep me warm. nothing, just a blanket. A little, it was a thin blanket, come to think of it. But it was to get to know me, who I am, thinking and bringing out the trauma that I've been through and getting rid of it. So, in the process of after the fast and all that, I had to fast more. Eh? I had to fast for my pipe. I had to fast for the right to run a sweat lodge. Yeah. Um, the thing is, all this knowledge that I gathered from different people in my life, eh, what I did was took the things that would help me on my path and put the rest to one side. Eh? But still, in all, they stayed there with me. It's just that may come up to a point that maybe somebody along the way would need that teaching, and I can express that teaching. But the thing is, we as a people eh, are kind of lost. And this is not on account of the elders, right? It, on account of the government eh? And the church that they all go to with this thing about uh, we weren't considered human. Okay, so the Pope signed a decree saying any land that we're on is not ours. So the Europeans came over in full blast. But the thing is, when they came over here, they didn't see any stores, they didn't see any jails, no, nothing like that. We had learned to be part of where we're from. Eh? When you think I was made from the dirt, the dust, eh? I'm part of the earth, not separate from it, like everybody else thinks. We're part of it. So since we're part of it, we are equal to all that is on earth, on Mother Earth. Eh? And we know that our Mother, the Earth, is a living entity. Okay? And the European way of thought is just starting to realize this, that the Earth is a living thing. Eh? And when you talk to Christians and that, eh, your belief is that only man has a spirit or a soul. Eh? But that's wrong. It's really wrong. Because from what I've read in Genesis, okay, when God created man, It didn't state that he used a straw to blow through, did he? To give that man spirit. Eh? He exhaled his breath, didn't he? So if he's going to pass his spirit down, he passed it all the way around Mother Earth. So Mother Earth and everything on it has a spirit, just as we have a spirit. So in that sense, we're all related because we come from the Creator. And since we all came from the Creator, we're no better than the blade of grass out there or the bug that's crawling in there. Right? So, you know, it's a whole separate thing, a chain of thought, a chain of beliefs that you have to change. Okay? And I've spoken to youth at youth camps where the kid didn't know who his grandparents were. Eh? He didn't know who his parents were. Because I asked, like, you know, I said, you have to know who you are. And this kid says, I know who I am. I said, okay, who are you? I said, who's your parents? I don't know. Hey, if you don't know your parents, you're not going to know your grandparents. Hey, if you don't know them, then you don't know who you are. See, each one of us, whether we're red, black, white, yellow, no matter what color you are, when we came into this world, the Creator sent us here with a gift. And this gift has to be shared. Okay? When you were first born, you brought that teaching with you and you taught it to your parents, which is unconditional love. Eh? And in a sense, that's your first teaching. Eh? Wisdom is just something that you've learned over a lifetime. The legends, the stories of your community, your family, all this you learn. That tells you who you are. You yourself, eh? Look deep inside, okay? And it'll let you know what you are. And in that sense, hey, it's these gifts that the Creator throws our way or gives to us. Okay? Even the problems that we face each day, you call them a problem. Well, I call it a problem. It's a test to see how sincere you are about something. Hey? So ask yourself, what am I to learn from this? This is a lesson given to me for something that needs to be learned to make me a better person. See, that's the whole concept. Loving yourself first. And in that sense of loving yourself, then you give the Creator the greatest gift of them all, and that is love. You're showing Him that you love His creation because you love yourself. And unless you can, you have to love yourself. If you can't love anyone else. You know, you'll disrespect His creations. You know, like my boys, when we rebuild a sweat lodge, I reinforce the teachings in the lodge. Eh? About the teachings of the poles, the rings, the pit, the altar, the sacred fire. Everything that we do to rebuild a sweat lodge is a ceremony. Eh? So I have to reinforce that thought to them. Because we all know as a young person, yeah, yeah, okay, hey, and go about what you want to do. So if I reinforce it every time we build a sweat lodge, okay, even though they put it off a little bit, you got that much more in, hey? Like I've had uh, their cousin come up from um, New Brunswick, and when I told him the teachings of the poles, he was shocked because his father is a sweat lodge keeper and never passed us that teaching to him. Eh? So, in a way, I think he spent the summer here so he could learn. You know, it's like you're not going to learn in a split second of all there is to know. It takes time, it takes effort, you know. Even when I became a pipe carrier, the first time, the, I had a red pipe, okay? So that pipe wasn't for here. So I made a black pipe, and that's what I use now. It's our pipe. The pipe stone is black, eh? And the red pipe stone, they use it out west. Eh? Granted, their pipe stone is a little softer, eh? But when you work at a pipe, you're also putting your part of your spirit into that pipe. Piece of you goes in there because you're praying, eh? Asking the Creator's guidance. And when the pipe is made, eh, and you use it the first time, you know it's strong because you prayed all through. Hey, put it together. Now, I used to use sumac for my stem, and I was in Ontario doing sweats there at Tandanaga. My friend's brother says, "What kind of wood is that?" And I told him, "Sumac." He says, "Let me see it." And so I showed it to him. He measured it and everything. He said, "I'll make you one." Hey, he made me one. And believe it or not, he made it from a cedar fence post. The fence post was over 100 years old. Eh? And that's what I use now. There's nothing, uh, it's not carved or all that fancy work on it. It's just a pipe stem. And like I use it. And when people ask me about the stem, I tell them the story about it. Really? Like they're kind of shocked. It's made from a fence post. Eh? So, but you know, it's making these connections. And I don't know how a person knows that you do ceremonies here and there. Because my wife and mother-in-law were with me once in Ontario. We just went to a powwow to be sightseers and tourist type of thing. And this guy came out of nowhere, asked me when I was coming to his community to do ceremonies. Never seen him in my life, and never seen him again after. But my mother-in-law says that you're a wanted man. Eh? But the thing is, is the people, if they know you're sincere about what you're doing, then it spreads. You don't have to open your mouth, nothing. You know, the thing is, once you take care of you, the community takes care of the rest. Eh? It's like here, I went to university, and I was just home redoing the kitchen, really, gyprock and all that. My friend came over. His father and I were in Shuby together, hung around for a while in Boston together. He says, "We got a job opening for a cultural support worker." He says, "You'll be good at it." Uh, so he brought the application, everything. He did up the paperwork for me, and I signed it, and he took it in. So I'm busy. Don't I get a call? And I'm covered with dust because I'm sanding. You can be here in 10 minutes. We'll have your interview today. I went down there covered with dust. And they were looking at me, and I said, "Well, it's like this." I says, "I got a call. Told me if I could be there in 10 minutes, you'll have my interview." And the person was saying, "We're looking for crazy people." So when you said that, came running, and they couldn't stop laughing because they knew I was joking. And but I had the interview, and everything went well, and I ended up keeping that job for 10 years. Yeah. They even wanted me to go back to work, but I retired from there. I still work for them on and off. Hey, I go to teach how to make drums. And the last time I went, I taught, what was it? I made pouches, drums, drumsticks, and showed them how to braid a keychain. Not the square one, but a round one. Yeah. As a matter of fact, when we did these ones up, they're only like patterns. Eh? And they never taught anyone. Hey, we just sitting there with a friend of mine, and I said, "Gee, I'm going to try that little breastplate." So I put one together, and he said, "Gee, that's nice." So he made one. And the thing is, you know, passing it on, eh? The knowledge that we had gained and sharing it with the community, you know. So if it comes to drum making, they might drumsticks, medicine pouches, you know, all these things that can be done. Eh? The knowledge of it keeps getting passed down. So once someone learns it, they in turn can pass it on to others. Eh? It's just like our way of life. It's different, you know. It's like country living and city living, eh? But ours is different from that. When we go in to town, we still carry our beliefs and all that, but it's like taking one hat off, putting another one on, eh? And so in that case, you're going into town and you're going into stores and doing business with uh, the European people. Now, when you come home, you take off that European hat, put your native hat back on, yeah? And your attitude changes. It seems to be relaxing here, but when you go to town, it's different. You're on the lookout. You're kind of tensed up, eh? Because you don't know who you're going to meet up with, eh? But in the end, you know, when I speak to people, I try to tell them about our culture and that. Then they have a better understanding of who we are. So in a sense, it knocks that racism down because a lot of the racism that you see today are going from the books they have in school. As a matter of fact, one of my classes at university was history, and we had to go through this history book and pick out all the history that was wrong, rewrite it to make it right, you know. Because we have to understand that when books were written about us in the beginning, there were books to be sold in Europe. Unless they sounded good to the European, then the book didn't sell. So the writer had to change things to make the book sellable. And this is what they were going on when they came here. It's the books that were written by people from Europe that came here and seen us, but wrote the book so it would sell. Instead of writing the true history and everything else, they changed it to make it sound good and the book would sell. And that's the beliefs that the Europeans brought here when they came. But it wasn't right. Hey, think about it. When the Europeans came here, we had our own government. Hey, nobody sold anything. It was shared or traded for. And if a person was too poor, then the community would get together and give that person stuff to make him, bring him up, so he's level with the rest of the community. You know, so nobody had to steal anything. There was no crime, no jails. When the European got here, hey, jails were popping up everywhere. Because, see, they were so busy with me, that what they were given or what they took good, but they hoarded everything. It was me. And here, it was us, we, our people, our community, our nation. Eh? But the thing is, the power they were getting from the money, say, wasn't true respect that they were getting. Because what you got, what they call it, the peasant of the European communities, lived in fear of that person. So it wasn't respect, it was fear. And here, you respect the person because you know he's your equal. No one is better than you. Eh? Here, we are humans. Okay? And there was one priest that wrote that said, if anyone wanted to see how Christ lived, then he should look at these people. Eh? Though we weren't Christians, eh? Christianity was brought here. Eh? And the funny thing is, when the Creator sent you guys prophets and teachers, you didn't believe them or you killed them, you know? But the Creator sends us teachers and prophets every so often, you know? And it's up to us to listen to the message that He brings to us. Eh? Think about it. The European thought about children, they should be seen but not heard. Huh? Here, got to listen to them. They may be young, but they still carry a message. There is things to learn from them. You know, we're foolish if we think we know it all. You know, we only are a drop in a bucket, less than a grain of sand when it comes to knowledge. Yeah? So why would you not listen to a child? Yeah? Realize that there's no way that child would know about this certain thing that he's talking about. So it's a teaching, and it's up to you to grasp it. You know? And here we are, here on Turtle Island. Eh, the women had the power, but they didn't actually push out. Eh? The men were put in like the chief, grand chief, but who put them there? It was the woman. You know, we have the 7 districts here. There's a district chief, but there's also community chief. Eh? All the community chiefs are supposed to get together with the district chief. The district chief is supposed to get together with the Grand Council. You know, and if there's any problems, then they're the ones to fix it. If more hunting area is needed, then it's allotted. But the family they're taking it from has to agree. Eh? But when that happens, when all is in agreement, then there's no animosity. There's no way you're going to go steal from your neighbor. Eh? All you got to do is say, gee, that's nice. You think I could have it? Or can you make me one? You know, or could I trade you something for it? You know, and most of the time it was given. If you like something, it was given. So money had served no purpose. And here we are today. You know, it's hard enough to go down the street and you're broke. You can't do nothing unless you got that dollar. Don't buy much today, though. I remember when I came home, believe it or not, I collected ration. I was got on welfare. Welfare check every 2 weeks. Eh? Out of my welfare check, I was supposed to buy my clothes, my smokes, pay my room and board, and all that. This is 1974. I was getting $20 every 2 weeks. And then we got a great big raise. Went up to $32. So you got $64 a month. You know, right now, I take time out. Uh, I like doing the seven sacred teachings. Uh, I like doing the teachings on the Sweat Lodge. Uh, as a matter of fact, when was it? Um, Last fall, I did a video for Dalhousie University. No, summertime, because they were going to use it when the school started. Was taking these students that were going to become sociologists, psychologists, uh, medical doctors, and all that. Okay, teaching them the seven sacred teachings, but taking the seven sacred teachings and putting it into their line of work. So that it took me a little while. I think I wrote maybe 2 weeks until I got it all down and did a video and sent that off. So in that process, if they use it like they're supposed to, then what happens is they do like an introductory, and then goes into the teachings and how it would work for their type of job. And when that's done, like they have to do it on their own time. Hey, it'll be there in their computer system. All they got to do is push a button and it would come on. But how many of them were going to do that? Hey, but they said they were going to ask questions on it. So it might, and I'm hoping it'll work and open the eyes of the doctors and physicians, the ones that have finished their education, and maybe push it to the lawyers and that, eh? But I've did quite a few talks at universities. I've talked to uh, parole officers, 150 parole officers from across the country. I've talked to probation officers. I think there was about 125 of them. And I don't know how many lawyers. I spoke about residential school to lawyers from Halifax, but that was down in Oak Island. Hey, I did that talk, and I did one for the university for 45 minutes, and I spoke to 12,500 people in 26 countries around the world on residential school. That's not including the people that were there in the auditorium. Eh? But I've spoken to this group from the Governor General of Canada. His office is supposed to be like the brainiacs of business. And I spoke to them from Sydney to Eskilstone. I think the only one that had dry eyes when we got off the bus was me. You know, because the experiences that you have in there, is when I went, okay, I couldn't speak English. But I'm telling you, I spoke English within 6 months. Yeah. Because every time I try to speak my language, I got a good beating. So in the end, they outlawed your language, your way of praying, your ceremonies. Even when we started up the sweat lodges here back in '87, they were all saying that we were praying to the devil. And it scared the people so much. They went to the Grand Chief. The Grand Chief stopped me one day coming out of the band office. He says, "Clark, I know sweats are good because I like sweats," he says, "but you're scaring the people and they want you to stop. And I'm only asking you to slow down." Okay. I came back here to Eskilstone, told my bunch we were asked to stop or slow down on the sweats, and we all laughed and doubled up on the sweats. But, it's worth it. It was worth it. Even though we burned, praying for our communities, it was worth it. Because for the longest time, I was the only pipe carrier in Member Two. And there was only maybe 3 here. And now, there's 1, 2, 3. There used to be 5 sweat lodges in Member Two. Now there's only 3. But the people that had the sweat lodges before got too old. I don't know why I'm going at it. I'm 75 and I'm still going. I was living in Boston. I was into drugs. I was pretty heavy user and drinking. I knew I was an alcoholic and I knew I was a drug addict. Hey, the combination of the two. So it was just before Thanksgiving. My friends came over and said, "Gee, let's go down Mashpee territory." And we went, and it was a protest. We took over the Mayflower, and then we had this Thanksgiving dinner, and we're up sitting there with my bunch at the table, and this guy come over, John Trudell, came over and said, "Who's who's the leader for this table?" They all pointed at me. So he says, "Dennis and Russell want to talk to you." Okay. So I finished my meal and went to talk to all three of them. And we hit it off pretty good. Yeah. We hung together all that day. But all three gave me the same message. Sober up, clean up your act, go home. You have a lot to teach your people. But they went in done it, you know. My drugs were more important. So after a while, you know, somebody says, "You want to try a sweat?" I did. And once I tried to sweat, and this guy's name was Bill. And we did a Sioux sweat. He says, "What made you agree?" I says, "Well, I thought about what John and Russell and Dennis told me, you know." And he says, "Clean up your act." I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, you're doing a darn good job of it." Because at that time, when I went into the sweat, I was the president of Worcester Intertribal Indian Center. Hey, I was writing proposals for them. As a matter of fact, I got one from them, for them from Massachusetts State Lottery. Renewable every 6 months. Now, all they had to do was sign a letter and send it back. They couldn't do it. Okay? So they lost that funding. And they asked me if I would move back. No, I'm busy at home. You know, I know when I came home, I would be busy. Okay? Even after I retired, I'm still busy. Okay? I go do talks here and there. I teach craft work. I do sweat lodge ceremonies. I do have my own lodge here, and I also have one at the health center. And plus, I had one at 3 different jails. Hey, I had one in Yarmouth, one in New Glasgow, and one here at Cape Breton Correctional. And I'm supposed to go to Burnside too, but I do counseling for Burnside usually on Friday afternoons. And so it keeps me busy. You know, either they catch me while I'm on the road, or they catch me here. It's just like this committee in New Brunswick. I got a call from them asking if I would come to New Brunswick and teach mental health first aid. And I said, sure. So next month I go there. But the thing is, you know, it took a long time and a lot of training for me to be able to go out and train people. Like I spent 2 weeks in Halifax training, came home, did some teaching with here, then took off for Toronto, a week there training, came home, taught some more, and then went to Winnipeg to get certified. you know, so in the process, eh, I like teaching from our culture, how our way of thinking is. Eh? As a matter of fact, one of the modules in the book is called Living in Two Worlds. Eh? In other words, like I explained earlier about me living here and going to town, or somebody even moving from here to moving into town. It's about you and your culture. It's about keeping your culture with you. You know, granted, you're not going to be able to practice your culture every day, eh? But the important things, eh? Like getting up in the morning, thanking the Creator for watching over you during the night. And if you had dreams, you thank Him for the teachings, you know? And ask Him to make you a better person today than you were yesterday, eh? Help you to learn those lessons He put there for you during the day. You know, that's why I spoke earlier about the problem. What's the lesson to be? You know, it's these things that we're grateful for. Not only that you get out of bed in the morning, you know, but you're there. Uh, I've done a lot of ceremonies. Yeah. I've done everything from baptism to marriage. Now, that sweat lodge, if you don't know what being humble is, it'll teach you. No matter how arrogant you get, it's going to teach you how to be humble. You know, but the thing is, going in there, hey, you're asking your ancestors to go in with you, realizing that you're going into the womb of Mother Earth. So, in all respects, you're going in there with your relatives, hey, from the spirit world. All your ancestors are going in there with you. Eh? And as you pass, you know, speech, eh? Death, dreams, eh? Death doesn't mean real death, like you're going to keel over and that's it. It's the death of your worries. What is bothering you? You leave it there. And a lot of people that go through the ceremony feel lighter after because their problems are left in there, you know. And it's not just one type of lodge, you know. There's all kinds of lodges. Like the one I have is what you call a star lodge. And then there's a bear lodge, eagle lodge, eh? There's all kinds of sweat lodges. And the funny thing is, not every nation does sweat lodges, you know? And it varies from nation to nation on which way that door is. Okay? Like here, our door is to the east. You go west, their door is to the west. And there's places up north, the door faces wherever, any which way that river is flowing. If it's flowing north, the door faces north, you know? And there's so much to our culture, even the way we drink water. Okay? You're walking in the woods, you come to this nice brook, okay? Nice stream. The water looks nice. It's flowing like this, eh? So when you go to scoop it up, you're going to go like this, eh? Right? It's wrong. No, with the flow. Always with the flow. That way you never interrupt the flow of that stream or river. The Creator meant it to flow in one direction. So when you scoop up your water, you go with the flow. Eh, there's these little things that people tend to forget, you know. So that a lot of people will, you know, it fills their hands faster. Okay? So, you know what? Believe it or not, I would love for both to sit down and look over the seven sacred teachings and how they were going to introduce them into their lives. Because the seven sacred teachings teaches you how to live in harmony with the world around you, the animals, bugs, the plant life, and other people. You know, and that is what I would like the people to learn. I'm hoping that the teachings that I put out there, someone will keep them and put them to good use. Unless they're put to use, they're going to die. Hey, if they're not passed down, they're going to die. So that's what I'm hoping and wishing for, is they survive to be passed down to another person. You know, I'm not saying that everything I teach them is going to help them, but with everything I teach them, I'm hoping to help them help themselves. There's these little memories of trauma from residential school. Keep it. But the thing is, they're not bothering me as much as they used to. You know, it's the thing about forgiveness. You know, forgiving oneself. Because you are your worst critic. You know, and there's all these what ifs that drag you back down. You know, when you face a problem, you get over that problem, leave it. Don't worry about it no more. Realize you're only living for now. You can't live in the past. It's gone. What you have done or said in the past is done and over with. Don't drag it with you. It's only going to weigh you down. Leave it where it belongs, in the past, because you're not the same person. Eh? Live for today. Worry about tomorrow when it comes. You know? Just one thing I can say. We planned a lot, year, 2 years ahead, until the doctor told us, you got cancer. And that changed everything. The one good thing about it, I learned to worry about me one day at a time. Live for today, not tomorrow. It hasn't been there yet. Can't live in the past. That's gone. Eh? So we live for the moment. Realize it's your gift from the Creator that you're there at that moment. Well, with me, the biggest worry about it is the government trying to sweep it under the rug and saying it never happened. Okay? Now, when we turned around and got together here in Truro and got a lawyer and sued Canada, everybody laughed. There's no way you're going to win. Even the lawyers were turning Norma Down, Nora Bernard. And then John McKeegan said, yes, I'll give it a shot. And I'm telling you, that man spent about $1 million of his own money. And then when everything was going really good, then all these other lawyers decided to start jumping on board. But the thing is, the paperwork that we had to do for it, the abuses that you suffered through there, were all written down. Now, when the adjudicator came, the adjudicator hears your story. He has it in front of him, really, all written down. But he'll ask questions. And you and the adjudicator are the only ones that are allowed to talk. But there's you, your support, your lawyer, government lawyer, and the adjudicator. Now, if the lawyers want to ask you anything, they're not allowed. They have to call a timeout and tell the adjudicator what they want to know, and the adjudicator will ask. You know, when I went, I didn't have a support worker, so it was just the government lawyer, my lawyer, adjudicator, and myself. When I finished telling my story, they were going to send me to Halifax to see a psychiatrist. So I waited 2 years. They finally gave up on that idea and gave me, what was it, 72,000. You know, looking at it, it didn't help me. It didn't cure me. The problems were still there. But it was me working on me that helped. You know? Now talking to other elders, well, there was a fund for that. But when I did the paperwork to talk to an elder, it didn't go through on account of they were going to send me to Halifax. So everything we got screwed in the end. Let's just put it that way. You know, and the funny thing is the adjudicator kept a scoreboard. Really. And we call it a scoreboard. What it is it had to do all these traumas, like sex abuse, for instance, What kind of sex abuse? Did he just feel you up? Did he touch your privates? Did he fondle you? Did he stick it in your rectum or in your mouth? And these, he literally would mark a score. And he'd add up all these scores. Okay. And that's when he decides how much to give you. Everybody that I spoke to, eh, didn't like it. Even my coworkers, I was working with residential school survivors then, even they didn't like it. We all called it a scoreboard. Eh? They have never, ever done anything like that to any other lawsuit against the government. Eh? When there was that school in Newfoundland, eh, sued for abuse, they never went through that scoreboard. Eh? The government just said, yeah, we'll give them this much money and poof. Eh? Each one got a great big chunk of money. Now, here we are. Hey, we're working with somewhere around $6 billion amongst approximately 150,000 survivors. Instead of giving each one a chunk, in order to, they gave each one money for being there. Then you had to go in front of the adjudicator and go through that trauma over again. So, in a sense, when the people got finished with the adjudicator, they were re-traumatized. So we as cultural support and support workers, the health support, had to do our jobs over again to get them back on track. You know, all they did was re-traumatize all these people. Eh? And the TRC events, they were good. Uh, they helped. And I got the chance to speak to a lot of people from out west that were in residential schools there. Here in Halifax. Yeah, it was really good. It helped a lot of people, but yet, you know, they were only able to see so many people. Eh? So, in order for you to go talk, you had to go see a worker, fill out paperwork. Eh? And if they agreed to be videotaped. Now, all these papers are in Winnipeg. Okay. And they're trying to keep them as records, but the government wants them destroyed by in 5 years' time, I think it is. So I put in my letter saying, I don't want mine destroyed. I want mine kept there for in the future when someone decides to do research about what happened. The story will be there. My story, anyway. I know it's different from everybody else's, but my story will be there. And the government can say, no, it didn't happen, because it'll be there in black and white, all signed documents. So they, in turn, have to own up to it. I was there when the premier turned around and Harper was apologizing, saying he was sorry. The only thing he was sorry for is that he couldn't hide it. He couldn't sweep it under the rug. To me, that's all he was sorry for, because when we walked out of there, 95% of the people didn't believe him. So there you go. You have to show us. If you're saying you're going to do something, do it. Don't just talk. Show us and do it. We're here busy trying to teach how to live. But yet you're trying to brush it to one side. And if you do that, then you will never learn to live. Because you have to learn to live with one another. Just as we have here before the first colonial people came. There was no war like you have in Europe, where they just go in and try to wipe out the whole country just because they want something there. Here we are. Even though we had different nations, each nation respected the other nation. I'm hoping that the government would realize to go with our people the teachings that are handed out for everyone to live by and see them as the way we're supposed to live. So we wouldn't be rushing off to war. The Creator didn't make us so we could kill each other off. That's man's thought. Creator put us here to love one another as sister and brothers. And that's the way we should look at things. Maybe sometime in the future, mankind will do just that before it's too late.